As promised, Joe and Mika. Welcome to your own show, guys.
I don't understand.
Well, we're supposed to be on vacation.
Welcome home.
So you guys, so I said it at the top of the show. You guys were on your way to vacation. You had tickets to the Red Sox game.
It's going to be a good one.
David Price was pitching.
Yes.
They beat the Twins last night.
This was a great tragedy.
You're going to bring your kids up there, but it was going to be a circus, and you didn't want to deal with it.
Instead, it was me, TMZ, and my dogs on the street.
So I asked you to come back, so I appreciate you coming in to talk about it. Mika, what's been going on the last 24 hours?
You know what? I think it's been fascinating and frightening and really sad for our country. I mean, I've been getting a lot of texts and hearing you all talking. Thank you. I'm fine. My family brought me up really tough. This is absolutely nothing. But I think for me personally, but I am very concerned as to what this once again reveals about the President of the United States. It's strange.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we had so many people saying, hey, hope you're okay, hope you're okay, had calls and texts and emails. We're okay. The country's not. I mean, that was when you know, it's so funny. Yesterday, I actually asked Mika. It was like 8:45, and I know this will shock you. I said, I'm really tired. Can I skip class? Can you do the last 15 minutes of the show? And everybody came in and ran and showed me the tweets before she came downstairs, and I looked at them and I was like, this has to be a joke. The President of the United States is as bad as he's been in the past. He really hasn't gone over the cliff. And then, unfortunately, we learned what we've always learned, and that is that he, for some reason, takes things so much more personally with women. He's so much more vicious with women. I never told the story, but a very well-known congressman who went over to the White House with 20 other members when the president was pitching House members to get through the House, said that he went on this rant about Morning Joe in front of 20 members of Congress while he was trying to pitch the health care bill. And went on and on and on and sort of just brushed me aside. He's a joke, he's a joke. But then this senior member that everybody knows, and we were on the phone, he said, I've never made a call like this. I've been in politics my whole life. He scared me because he was vicious when he turned from you to Mika. His face was red. He started talking about blood coming out of her ears, out of her eyes. And this congressman said, I've been in politics for decades. I've never seen anything like this. And he said, I don't even know why I'm calling you, but I was just scared. I was scared for you guys, and I wanted you to know. And for some reason, we've seen this time and time again with Mika. I will insult him over the Muslim ban or say that he's a racist. I'll say he's a racist with what he said about David Duke. All of these things through the year. And for some reason, he always goes after Mika. And it's always personal with Mika. And he packed about 5 lies into the tweets, which is very productive, 2 tweets, to pack 5 or 6 lies into 2 tweets. But yesterday was just another example of just how deeply personal he is. He attacks women because he fears women.
He has a fixation. There is, we did a piece in the Washington Post that we wrote together that kind of goes through everything that happened. But I guess I'll say this now. You know, big picture, my father just passed away. My mother had 2 heart attacks. My daughter just lost a friend. Those are the things I'm really worried about. Those are the things that really deeply impact me and, you know, leave me thinking about it at night and hurting and worrying and thinking about the future. The president's tweets, whether they're personally aimed at me or aimed at me in some way, that doesn't bother me one bit. It does worry me about the country. And I know we have Richard Haass with us. He appears to have a fragile, impetuous, childlike ego that we've seen over and over again, especially with women. It's like he can't take it. And I saw this happening yesterday in real time. We were talking about the Time magazine cover. The White House claims that we attack him. No, we report on his lies. We are upset when he doesn't tell the truth and he bullies people. That is true. We sometimes mock him and have fun with things like we did with President Obama with his bowling. And we were having fun with the Time magazine cover because it was hilarious that anybody would have their country club put up fake Time magazine covers of your boss, or maybe an employer felt they needed to do that. I thought it was hilarious. I still do. I stand by my joke. I knew in real time that the president would be tweaked by that. And I wondered, oh boy, I feel there's going to be a response. And I'll tell you that. Think about it. It is unbelievably alarming that this president is so easily played. He's so easily played by a cable news host. Now, what is that saying to our allies? What is that saying to our enemies? That this president is so easily played.
Well, you know, Willie, we got actually a lot of texts, a lot of calls actually from ambassadors and leaders that we've known through the years across the world, just expressing shock. And that's when you go from going, oh, you know what, this is, it's
No
just
big deal,
Donald.
right.
We've known Donald for 12
handle it.
years. When you're getting emails and calls and texts from people across the world saying, we stand by you like we're a sovereign state. We stand by you, Morning Joe, the Republic of Morning Joe.
We stand with Mika.
But they said we stand by you. We stand by Mika. We stand by the show. This is shocking. We don't even know how to respond to this as a country. We don't know how to deal with this guy. And we have friends inside the White House that have told us over the past month they're getting more concerned about his emotional state and also more concerned at the same time
Self-control.
about what's happening across the world. There are bad things brewing across the world, which we can't say on the air. They know at the DOD, but this is one of the most dangerous times in recent American history. And we have a president who is attacking a cable news host because she dared make a joke about a Time magazine cover.
Well, the president of South Korea is here in Washington. He was at the White House last night. There'll be a meeting again this morning. Could not be a more serious time for our relationship with South Korea, given what's happening in North Korea. And so when he arrives in Washington, what he sees on his TV, what he hears around him, his story about tweets about Mika Brzezinski.
Yeah.
And what's that signal to him about the seriousness of the president? As to the tweets themselves, and I normally, Mika, wouldn't ask you these things
go
on
ahead.
TV, but you wrote about them in the
Please.
Washington Post.
Yeah.
You pointed out a bunch of things that just weren't true in the tweets.
It was amazing how many lies he packed into 2 tweets. We did not want to go to Mar-a-Lago. Donald kept calling Joe. Joe went, and he stayed for about 30 minutes. And then he's like, where's Mika? He seemed to want me to go. I didn't want to go.
For some reason, he was more interested in Mika being there than me.
And so the next night we went, I think on jeans, we walked through this, we thought, okay, let's try to get an interview, talk to Melania, who I like very much. And we were like shuffled into a side room. It was actually a bedroom, talked for 20 minutes. And we left through this party of people dressed to the nines. Talk about facelifts. Whoa, Palm Beach. Okay, hello.
We love our Palm Beach viewers. That's okay.
We love you in Palm Beach.
It was amazing. And
Facelifts are good.
speaking of my face, while we're there, I had my chin tweaked, the skin under my chin. I believe I FaceTimed you. We talked about it. Called Nicole, called all my friends. Had a lot of fun with it. I'm pretty transparent about what I do, and I think it looks awesome.
It looks
How
how do you do that?
It's so easy. I'll talk to you about it. You need it.
have to
You need
answer
it.
this question.
I don't care. Ask all my friends.
But see, that's the thing, though, and this is
I'm
what he
not
does. He
so
takes
easily-
something small,
But he thinks he can weaponize
and he can
dirty.
towards it. He tries to weaponize it, and all he again, this has been one of our great frustrations. He just ends up hurting himself, and you know. You go through Wisconsin, you go through Pennsylvania, you go through Michigan, you go through Ohio, and you go through those 4 states, and you realize there are people there in Iowa that voted for Barack Obama 8 years ago. And they are so desperate for some help
And we're talking about
that they voted for Donald Trump this time because they wanted somebody who would fight for them. And instead, Willie, all they've gotten is somebody that will fight for himself and pick fights with people that don't matter. Like, if you don't like our show, and if you care about what's good for America, turn us off. Hey, I wrote in the Washington Post piece with Mika
it's easy.
that it's better for America and the world if he just turns his 80-inch television set to Fox and Friends and keeps it there.
it'll make him
And
happy.
stay calm, stay in the bubble, And like,
I'm worried.
We'll all be fine.
I think the sign here is that we might have a bigger problem. I've said this before.
Well,
I've been trying to drill this point home. I think we have a much bigger problem on our hands. I think members of the administration, members of the cabinet, members of Congress have a really big problem on their hands.
And that's
very worried.
That's also because we've known him so
Very
long.
disturbed.
And I know, Donnie, you've known him for a long time. The guy that's in the White House now is not the guy we knew 2 years ago.
Not
the guy
even
that's in the White House
close.
now is not even close, because the Donald Trump we knew for the better part of 10, 12 years was always in on the joke.
Yeah.
He'd go, here's Trump water, and then it'd wink at you.
Yeah.
Right? And here's this. Hey, look at it. And it always wink, kind of like, they love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, they love that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they just come here and they love seeing my name. It makes them feel like they're part of something. He was always in on the joke. Without getting into great detail, I will just say that somebody at the top of his campaign last summer said to me, we're all really worried about his emotional state.
Yeah.
But this is our analysis.
He's changed. No, this isn't our analysis. I'm telling you what
mine.
somebody said.
Yeah.
This guy is not even the same person he was a year ago.
It's interesting. I always used to use those words, he's in on the joke. I want everybody to really read your Washington Post piece today, because the top of it is something we've been talking about. He's not well. I think the real net of all of this is beyond the obvious of what was all atrocious about the tweet. He's not of sound mind. That's somebody that clinically you look at and say, there's something wrong there. And I think, I don't know what the doctors in the White House situation is, I don't know, but this is the man who's got his hands on the code, and he's clearly not well. I'm not a
well, and the question is really,
he's mentally ill.
When do you stop doing things that are in your best interest and start doing things that are obviously going to hurt you, bring harm to you, bring harm to people around you? And he's been acting that way for some time now.
Well, the Russia tweets have been a case study in that. Every time he tweets about Russia, he's made it exponentially worse for him. Everything he has said publicly and done publicly has made it worse. If he had some restraint, he'd actually be helping himself, but he contradicts his own best interests. I also think there's something that you've talked about a lot. If you look at George W. Bush or Bill Clinton, you've got to have, and Barack Obama, you've got to have a thick skin. You just have to be president. We were just talking about a story that we've told many times that a friend of ours tells us about George W. Bush and all the noise on cable news and all the noise in the media when he was president about he should be impeached and he's shredding the Constitution and he's Hitler and everything else. And he goes in and he's told one night that Keith Olbermann had gone after him in that night in a pretty vicious way.
And this was
pretty deep
a couple
into it.
years into it, like 2007, 2008.
Yeah. He's told that Keith Olbermann has said something pretty serious about him, and it's getting good pickup, and we just thought you should know. And George W. Bush looked at this White House communications person and said, Keith Olbermann? Why is he talking about me? They said, well, you know, his show, and he said, he does Sports Center. I love that guy. I love that guy. The point of the story being, you've got to block out the noise and do your job and not worry about what's being said around.
I was telling Willie about this piece of video I watched
past
yesterday of JFK in '62, just after the Bay of Pigs, and he'd been hammered by the press. And he's on this video and he says, listen, I've just had the most brutal time. The press is terrible to me. He calls them abrasive. And he said, but thank God I have that, because Khrushchev doesn't have that kind of work out every day, and it's making my presidency better. What a night and day reaction to what it means to have a press that is free, open, and questioning of the presidency.
And Richard, talk about the crises that are breaking out across the globe. And we're not even counting you trying to grow a beard for the 4th of July weekend.
Big crisis. No, but I mean, the fact that he can be played so easily, that he lurches at a morning cable news host, and since he's obsessed with women in a way that makes him feel even more scathed when a woman mocks him, what does that say to our enemies and our allies and our allegiances and developing relationships around the world?
And could that perhaps be why he was so rude to Angela Merkel, a woman that many call the leader of the free world now?
Look, words you want or adjectives you want associated with the president are careful, disciplined, sober. You want someone of good judgment, because this president is going to have to make decisions that literally will affect the lives of every person on the planet. So you almost want, not almost, you want the president to have that in the back of his mind before he says or does anything. But what worries me here in the foreign policy sense is I don't want a president who's susceptible to flattery. And this gets at the Saudi visit, where I think the United States was way, way, way too much in the direction of the Saudis and others. And this could drag us, I think, into an unwarranted conflict in the Middle East. And I don't want a president who's thin-skinned to criticism. I want a president who can brush off both the flattery and the criticism, because both are going to come at him fast and furious, day in, day out. And you want someone who can remain calm when nobody else is. That's what we need. Here we are today with the South Korean president at the White House.
Yep.
This will be the single most important national security set of decisions he's going to have to make. And literally millions, I'm not exaggerating here, millions of lives in that part of the world, possibly in the United States, will be affected by what it is the United States doesn't do and how it does it. So the stakes couldn't be larger.
Yeah.
And here we are, quite honestly, having this conversation. And the juxtaposition between the stakes coming at us in the president's inbox and where we are in terms of this conversation as a country, the contrast between the two cannot make anybody in or out of this White House feel comfortable.
No, and you think about him responding to my tweaking him about the Time magazine covers. You think about, Willie, that spooky cabinet meeting where everybody went around the table and complimented him. This appears to be a man that cannot take the tiniest tweak from a woman on cable news, but requires his cabinet to speak at length about his greatness, especially in the middle of a presidency that appears to be struggling, low approval ratings, and very few accomplishments. He's not in reality.
Never been any question that he requires daily, if not hourly, affirmation.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys about something else you published in the Washington Post piece this morning. It's something, again, we've talked about in private. You've never talked about on television, but I'm already getting a lot of questions about it, so I want to give you the chance to explain. I'll just read a quote. This year, top White House staff members warned that the National Enquirer was planning to publish a negative article about us unless we begged the president to have the story spiked. We ignored their desperate pleas. What exactly happened there, to the extent you're comfortable talking about
Well,
it?
I mean, I'm comfortable talking. I mean, I think we have to talk about it now because it explains the relationship and his really strange obsession with this show, and in particular, his really disturbing obsession with Mika. We got a call that, hey, the National Enquirer is going to run a negative story against you guys, and it was, Donald is friends with, the president is friends with the guy that runs the National Enquirer. And they said, if you call the president up and you apologize for your coverage, then he will pick up the phone and basically spike the story. I had, I will just say, 3 people at the very top of the administration calling me. And the response was like, are you kidding me? I don't know what they have. Run a story? I'm not going to do it. The calls kept coming and kept coming, and they were like, call. You need to call. Please call.
So,
come on, Joe, just pick up the phone and call him.
It's blackmail.
And let me explain what they were threatening. They were calling my children. They were calling close friends.
You're talking about the
of mine.
National Enquirer. Yeah.
And they were pinning the story on my ex-husband, who would absolutely never do that. So I knew immediately it was a lie and that they had nothing. And these calls persisted for quite some time. And then Joe had the conversations that he had with the White House where they said, oh, this could go away.
So I just want to be very clear here.
Wow.
The National Enquirer is harassing your children, your daughters, who are teenagers.
Yeah. And it's,
and you're and then Joe in turn is getting calls from the White House.
saying,
By
call
the
Donald
way,
and
they're
apologize.
also. I was at Mika's house for a few minutes and came out, and there was a guy in a van that was staked out there, watching. It was clear that he was from a tabloid, and he started asking questions. And then after all this started happening, that's when we started getting calls from the White House saying, if you call, you need to call the president, and we'll
And our
do what we can.
response, talking to my ex-husband, talking to Joe, talking to my kids, was, screw it, let them run it. Just go ahead and run it.
By the way,
Not calling.
they ended up
We're
running
not
something.
calling.
And they interviewed a guy who said, yeah, I seen him there for about a year. He comes in, he buys about, you know, three 6-packs of beer a week here in my store. I've never, hold on. I've never bought a beer. You can check it out. I'll be Gary Hart here. Follow me around. I've never bought a beer in my life. From a convenience store, from a bar.
I wish it was,
Joe, what you just said
is
is
funny.
forget it. I don't want to talk about tweets anymore.
Right.
What you just said is one of the most frightening things I've ever heard.
Well, this is what we got.
That basically that this story is going to run unless you grovel to the president, and then the president will kill the story.
But not just the story run. We will stop we'll have the National Enquirer stop harassing your children if you grovel to the president of the United States.
And what makes it even worse for them is Donald Trump called me during the campaign and bragged about his friend who ran the National Enquirer. He said, and he'd always say, have you seen the Ben Carson story? Have you seen the Ben Carson story? Have you seen that story in the Enquirer? And then he would talk about it. Did they do the JFK story too? I don't know if they did the JFK story too, but there were all these stories that were planted in the National Enquirer for people that Donald Trump wanted to attack. And then he would talk about it on the campaign trail. So when we heard it, he said, oh, so we've gone from campaign mode to now trying to attack us. And of course, go ahead. We were like...
The Ted Cruz JFK story was the National Enquirer. That his father was involved somehow.
Yeah. I mean, Harold, I know you've held elected office. I know you've held town hall meetings. I know you've had people come up to you and like grab you and say, I need help. I need help. You know, we're not able to make ends meet. We're not able to pay our, and there's so many Americans like that. And I mean, how do you explain to them what's happening in the White House when top White House aides are dealing with tweets, or top White House aides are dealing with reporters trying to do whatever they were trying to do on the National Enquirer? It's just horrifying.
You can't deal with it. First of all, I thank you for coming on this morning and answering and responding to this. It's a shame that you had to, that the President of the United States...
You're telling me I missed a good Red Sox game last night at Fenway.
That you would have to go through this. But again, I come back to where we started. Who are we
okay?
I'll be okay.
Are you sure?
I'm not going to make this about me. We got to tell the Grizzlies.
It's a wonderful thing, but I think there's a seriousness to this. Donnie raised it at the beginning, then raised it again about if the president to call someone and say, I will make something go away in the press if you call me and bow to me or kowtow to me. The fact that his response, because he's upset about the way he's being criticized on health care and taxes and infrastructure and foreign policy, is to attack Mika personally. We as a country have got to figure out, who are we? What have we become if we allow this to be the leader and the spokesperson from whom we are, and how we project ourselves as a nation?
And I think more importantly,
it's a really terrible proposition we find ourselves having to deal with this morning.
Touching on what you said before, and I heard you say this, it's not just we as a country, it's those of us who have called ourselves conservatives for our entire life, and those of us who have called ourselves Republicans for our entire life. When he's obsessed the way he is on the small things he's obsessed with, what happens to a health care agenda? You don't move a health care agenda forward. You don't have conversations about how, getting free enterprise and free markets in healthcare could drive down the cost. You don't talk about passing tax reform that would make Americans more competitive with the rest of the world, or get how many trillions that are offshore back invested in the United States, which would put working class people from Wisconsin to Pennsylvania back to work. You don't get to talk about regulatory reform. You don't get to talk about using that money for infrastructure and rebuilding our country. I had somebody coming back from Russia saying their infrastructure is incredible. China's infrastructure is incredible. They said you should see the roads. You should see the trains. They are rebuilding. China did the same thing 5 years ago. We're not doing this because we have a president, Harold, that is obsessed with the smallest of things.
Everybody has lapses in judgment, and they say terrible things or things they don't agree with. But when you say those things, you come back, as someone said to me, a great friend said to me the other day, good judgment at the end of the day is better late than never. And you would hope at some point when you say something crazy, you come back and say, I didn't mean that. I got caught up in the moment. This president is yet to apologize for this.
No, that's not going to happen.
And he had his
never
White House
does.
spokesperson come out and say, this is what you bargained for. This is what you voted. I don't believe the country voted for this.
No.
No, they
And
didn't.
I'm so
They voted
curious.
for
And
people's
I
lives to
can't,
get
I
better.
want to see how we as a nation, the fabric and the texture of whom we are, respond to this. And I'm hopeful and prayerful that the answer resembles the tone this morning and resembles you didn't show any courage because you are who you are, and the Brzezinski family is what the Brzezinski family is. But I hope the country shows that we won't stand for this.
By the way,
because it's
it's
an awful thing.
We show absolutely no courage here. I mean, we get paid well. We've got the job of our dreams. We've got the best life that, I mean, coming from where I came from, my dad
Very
was
blessed.
unemployed for 2 years, couldn't find a job
And Joe, you
driving
just learned
across
to
the
read
Southeast.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
It's an
And I
amazing-
did, coming from where I come from, I did just learn to read just a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
So we're extraordinarily lucky, but Katty,
I'm really worried.
I don't want to pound this in the ground too much, but there are people that are hurting out there. Average wages for working class Americans have declined in real terms since 1974. Their health care costs are going up. Deductibles are going up. Premiums are going up. Their coverage is getting worse. Our corporations that employ millions of people can't compete with other corporations across the world as effectively because our tax rates are higher. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Our airports are a joke. Our bridges are collapsing. That's what matters. And that's what's not getting done in an age where the partisanship is so harsh that Steve Scalise can get gunned down at a charity baseball practice. And yet a week later, 2 weeks later, the President of the United States is amping things up and making the political environment all the more dangerous.
For years, America's been ungovernable. And, you know, Richard spoke about the crises facing us around the world, but you also pointed out something else, which is the opportunities other countries are seizing. While America is standing still, in terms of infrastructure building, creating more jobs, getting its manufacturing industries going again, other countries are moving forwards. They just are. And there'd been some speculation that when the president came into office, because of him saying that he's a deal maker and because he had the Republicans in the Senate and because he had the Republicans in the House, he would actually be able to break the gridlock, that this was the president perhaps who could get things moving because he had all of the power in one party's hands and because he billed himself as a deal maker. And instead, his administration is caught up day after day in trying to clean up yet the latest tweet that is occupying everybody's interests and airtime and making it harder and harder for members of his own party to do business with him.
And Mika, we've got a 13-year-old daughter. You've got 2 daughters. I'm concerned about the messages that are being sent from this president, just like we've said it before on the show, both of us. We were concerned about the messages that were sent to boys and girls when Bill Clinton was in the White House. But now especially, you have women that are constantly degraded.
Yeah.
You are constantly degraded by the President of the United States whenever he attacks us. He doesn't attack me, he attacks you. You can look at, we had Katie Tur on. You can look at what he did with the pageant queen, that he fat shamed. You could look at what he did with Megyn Kelly. You can look at what he's done time and time again. And by the way, we're not even saying about what he said privately. This congressman saying that he went into a rage talking about you and blood to 20 congressmen that he was actually whipping on the health care bill in the House. What does this say to young women and young girls? And what does it say about the women in the White House that won't step up and speak out against this abhorrent
He's
behavior?
in the middle of a phone call and he starts leering and smiling at an Irish reporter who he finds attractive. This has brought us back like 30 years. And I do think women in the White House need to know their value and step up and understand that they need to set them straight. So do the men.
I've got to say also, I just want to bring one name out, and I'm sorry to name one person, but I'm going to name her because she's been around Washington for a long time. She's been a friend. We know her, but Elaine Chao. She's been there before. She will be there again. Somebody like Elaine Chao needs to speak out the next time this happens. She has a voice. It's not enough anymore to say
now's the time.
he's new to the job.
Yeah, no.
And that's what she said. That's what others have said. Well, he's new to the job. Wait, I would not allow, I've got 4 kids, Donnie. I would not allow any of my children to behave this way. And if they did behave this way one time, I would take care of it. Instead, a lot of these Republicans and cabinet members are going, oh, it's disappointing.
Yeah.
Would you say that to your 5-year-old if your 5-year-old went out and smacked or insulted somebody?
If somebody said
No.
this about my daughter, and I you know, once again, I'm going to elevate the conversation. Donald, if you're watching, we're from Queens. I'll meet you in the schoolyard, brother. You need to be schooled.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. This is
Can
where
we-
this needs.
Can you put the sunglasses back?
this
No,
is
no,
our
no.
problem.
He's a coward. He's a coward.
We want to
An
take
ill
it,
coward.
We want to take it out of the school.
I don't want to.
Well, I do.
Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
want to teach
I'm
my
worried-
children to treat people with respect and to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And just stop the insanity. Willie, we're not going to get Washington fixed as long as this continues and as long as Republicans turn a blind eye to it.
And it's not about being new to the presidency. You'd have to be new to humanity.
Right.
Well said.
To know not to say something
said.
like that, not just to a woman, to another human being.
Well said.
And especially when you're the most famous person now on the face of the earth, Donald
most
Trump,
powerful.
and most powerful. And everybody listens to every word you said, and it sets the tone for people who believe in you and follow
And
you.
let's
You
end it
can't
on
do
this note. He has once again shown the world that he can be played. He can be tweaked. He can be goaded so easily that it's frightening.
Well,
And we'll leave it there.
What does that mean for North Korea? What does that
Yeah.
mean for Vladimir
That's what I'm
Putin,
worried
who
about.
he's-
I'm fine.
One piece of bad news.
Yeah, what's that?
The Sox are in Toronto now.
So
I know.
we're going
They
to go on
left town.
vacation
They
now.
gotta go to Toronto.
Can you
Where
guys
you guys going?
take care of this? I
don't-
think I'll be mentioning you were going.
Connie, you've
TMZ
done
called
enough.
my 2 male dog bitches. I don't get it, but that's what happened.
TMZ, she had her dogs.
I went walking with my
They-
dogs.
Oh.
What was the headline?
They're both boys. And
What
it
was the
said,
headline?
What did they
Bitches have her back. Oh, excuse my
She's
language.
walking.
But it's
no,
as
she's
a
walking
female
2
dog.
dogs. She's walking her 2 dogs. She actually got 14 dogs.
My kids were very impressed.
18 chickens, 12 rabbits.
No.
You want to do a story?
13
That's the
chickens.
story. 13.
How's
Yeah.
Nugget?
Nugget's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
As long as Nugget is not affected
Nugget's
by this.
awesome. Little bit getting
All right.
cannibalized.
All right,
You
guys.
go low.
Hey.
Okay.
Mika goes to the
chicken.
chickens.
Go on vacation.
All right.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
Bye.
All
See you later.
See you guys. Happy 4th.
Happy
We'll be right back on Morning
Happy
Joe.
4th, America. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.